SkyBet customer wins £94,000 from 2 small stake lucky 31s. This was a headline published by The Sporting Life earlier this week. But is it fake or is it real? Because the more you join up the dots, the worse it starts to look, especially once you click on the company's modern slavery statement. Now, why does this bet sound like something out of a Hollywood movie? Why is the supposed big winner completely anonymous? And why isn't it reported anywhere else? And why does the small print tell a totally different story to the headline? First, for a little context, let's take a quick look at the reported bet itself. According to The Sporting Life, a mystery punter placed 2 small stake lucky 31s, one at 30p each way and another at 25p each way. Now, if you're not familiar with a lucky 31, it's a type of sports betting accumulator that covers every possible combination over 5 different selections. There are 31 bets in total, hence the name. And because it was each way, you're effectively doubling each of those lines on the bet slip, one for the win and one for the place. That means a 30p each way lucky 31 actually costs 60p per line, which works out in total to be £18.60 for the first bet, and at 25p each way a lucky 31 costs 50p per line, so £15.50 in total for the second. Add them together and you've got a total stake of £34.10. Now, from that bet, The Sporting Life say the punter took just under £94,000 from SkyBet. £71,000 on the first accumulator slip and £23,000 on the other. So what were the bets on the slip? Arizona Blaze at 7-1, the Dark Baron at 40-1, Shazani at 40-1, Fair Dinkum at 10-1, and the only loser was St Lawrence in the 3 o'clock at Doncaster. Now, on the face of it, it's an incredible return. Life-changing money from pocket change stakes. But look a little bit closer, those 2 40-1 winners on the same ticket, and one of them ridden by a 57-year-old retired jockey making a comeback after a heart attack, it almost reads less like a genuine Sunday punt and more like something dreamt up from a bookmaker's marketing department. And that's where things start to get interesting. In the UK right now, gambling advertising is already under massive pressure. Campaign groups, MPs, even sections of the media have been calling for tighter controls. They say that bookmakers are exploiting punters and glamorising one thing most people never experience: a life-changing win. And that's exactly what makes the SkyBet story so interesting, because while advertising regulations already say operators can't mislead or exaggerate the chances of winning, here we've got a miracle £34 to £94,000 headline being pushed as if it's straight reporting. But perhaps that doesn't count as advertising. We'll come back to that and what the regulators say in just a moment. But first, let's follow the trail and find out who's really behind this story. If you click on the modern slavery statement in The Sporting Life's footer, you're not taken to some neutral news policy page. Instead, it redirects to Flutter Entertainment's corporate website, the same parent company that owns SkyBet, Betfair, Paddy Power, and some of the biggest sports betting brands in the world. Now, if you look a little closer at the small print on the Sporting Life's website, you'll also see it's operated by Hestview Limited, a Flutter subsidiary. So, in other words, this isn't an independent racing paper publishing breaking news. It's a company-owned outlet promoting its own brand in a miracle headline. And it's significant because when a bookmaker owns the outlet, the lines between journalism and advertising get very blurry quite quickly. What looks like a news story could just as easily be carefully packaged PR. And as you'll see in a minute, the problems don't end there either. There's the so-called winner. Usually, when someone lands a life-changing sum like this, bookmakers are quick to wheel them out for a photo, especially when it comes to sports betting accumulators. Oversized checks, smiling faces, and sometimes interviews. It's easy PR and it gets splashed everywhere, but not here. In this case, we've got no name, no picture, no interview, just an anonymous customer. It raises further questions. Did this person even want their story published? Or did they exist in the first place? Or even, and this is maybe worse for SkyBet, did they decide that the public winner doesn't look good against their so-called social responsibility commitments? Because remember, this isn't a company with a spotless record. In 2018, SkyBet were fined £1 million for social responsibility failures. So keeping the winner in the shadows might not be about privacy at all. It might just be about the optics. And this contrast is important because when a real customer actually does win with SkyBet, they aren't given a headline. They aren't celebrated on the Sporting Life. Their accounts and bets are state restricted to pennies, and in some cases it appears to be even worse. In fact, in this case that I covered before, SkyBet refused to pay out altogether, claiming that the customer had broken their terms simply by using the same internet connection as someone else. So on one hand, they'll block real winners with technicalities and quote terms, but on the other, they'll happily push anonymous, cinematic jackpot stories that just happen to look great for PR. So let's step back for a second here. The story runs on the Sporting Life. Sporting Life is owned by Hestview Limited, is a subsidiary of Flutter Entertainment, the same group that owns SkyBet, Betfair, Paddy Power and more. This isn't independent journalism. This is one arm of Flutter writing a news story that promotes another arm of Flutter. It's clearly not reporting, it's advertising dressed up as editorial. And here's where it gets darker, because not only are they disguising advertising as news, the product they're promoting here isn't even the best value option. In fact, it's one of the worst for punters, and of course one that's most profitable for the bookie. Let's break down the numbers. Flutter don't just own SkyBet and Sporting Life, they also own Betfair Exchange, the one place where you can see the closest thing that we've got to real betting market value. So let's compare them. Take Arizona Blaze. SkyBet quoted 7-1 or 8.0 in decimals, and the Betfair starting price was 7.4. Not a huge gap, but still slightly worse. Then there's Dark Baron. SkyBet quoted 40-1, but the Betfair Exchange went off at 30-1, so that one actually looks a little bit generous. But here's the catch. On the second slip, SkyBet settled at SP, which was just 23.0, miles below the true market price. Now, look at Shazani. SkyBet gave 40-1, but on the exchange, it was 87.33 in decimal odds, more than double of the price and at huge odds too. It's not just a small margin, it's daylight robbery. Fair Dinkum was next on the slip at 10-1 at SkyBet, but 14.5 on Betfair's exchange. Again, nearly quarter more value left on the table. Even St. Lawrence, the loser, shows the pattern too, because SkyBet's industry SP had him at 33-1, while the exchange had him at 46.0. A massive difference. But here's the kicker. If we run the same lucky 31 bet at Betfair's exchange prices, the potential return for the entire accumulator jumps to over 2.5 times bigger than the SkyBet version. And that's the real point here. A lucky 31 is 31 different bets wrapped up into one. Every small underpriced compounds over multiple legs. So while it looks like you're spreading out your chances, what you're actually doing is multiplying the bookmaker's margin. It's one of the worst value bets out there, and it's exactly why they're pushing it. But is this within advertising rules? From what I've seen, it brushes right up against them. The ASA, the Advertising Standards Authority, is crystal clear. Gambling ads can't mislead, can't exaggerate, and can't create unrealistic impressions of winning. Yet here we are, with a miracle £34 to £94,000 story being pushed as if it's independent news, with no disclaimer that it's essentially advertising. On the face of it, this is being promoted as news with no disclaimer that it's actually marketing. So when you join the dots, it paints a very different picture. It looks a lot like a carefully packaged advert positioned as journalism while quietly steering punters towards one of the worst value bets on their site. Which brings us to the bigger question. What does this all really tell us? When you put it all together, who really benefits from this? The punter who supposedly won, or the bookmaker advertising their sports betting accumulators? If this was about fair play and winning, wouldn't they be promoting Betfair's exchange, the place with better odds and more transparency, instead of lucky 31 multiples which compound margins in the bookie's favour? Now, I can't say for certain whether this customer exists or whether this was orchestrated by a PR team, but what I can say is this. Either way, it doesn't look great, and if anything, it reinforces arguments for those who are attacking the industry right now. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below, and don't forget to hit like if you believe the bookies should be forced to be more transparent. Oh, and if you thought this was bad, wait until you see what happened when William Hill actually called the police on a winning customer. That video is here in the end screen next.